was a day in late autumn, the season when change is in the offing and winter not far away. Yet the sun that morning rose with deceptive calm and serenity. In the half-light of early morning, the ponds and lakes were mirror smooth. The towering peaks of the Grand Teton Range were gradually revealed in all their grandeur. Down below, the valley known as Jackson Hole was peaceful, and the marsh around the beaver pond was serene. It was a bracing morning with a touch of chill in it, a good day to be alive. One of the first to stir was the osprey, whose perch in the topmost branches of the old cottonwood now caught the early light. The bird blinked in the morning's brightness and took a moment to come fully awake. But once alert, it surveyed its surroundings with a sharp and searching attention. The osprey counted himself sole possessor of the waters of this valley, all the creeks and lakes and rivers, for these were his fishing ground. Each morning, regular as the sun itself, it was his habit to patrol his domain, seeking his breakfast. Seldom did the osprey miss a catch like this. Generally, his talons found their mark unerringly, and that was what made the incident unusual. But this, it so happened, was only the first of a series of uncommon events that would make this a day to remember. All the bird's anger and chagrin, it seemed, was not to change that. Indeed, the hawk's normal poise was considerably upset a few moments later when it appeared that the otter family had been luckier than he. He almost felt like scolding himself. For the otters, it was a day to rejoice in. But then for an otter, every day is a good day, since he is probably the happiest and hungriest creature alive, always ravenous, full of spirits, high-strung, and quick to indulge in play. To satisfy such burning energy, a mother otter is kept constantly on the go, fetching and carrying the meals for her hungry brood. It just happened on this particular morning that she momentarily left her prize unguarded, and thereby put temptation in the way of her neighbor. So the day took another unexpected turn, when the proud osprey, self-reliant hunter in his own right, turned scavenger and pilfered someone else's catch. Thus the day began. Everything contrary to custom. The fishhawk dining on trout he himself had not bothered to catch. Later that morning, the three young otters set out on a journey. A journey to nowhere, really, for otters don't need a definite destination. Their natural curiosity carries them along, free as leaves blown by the wind. Creatures of impulse, they love to explore, especially on a crisp, clean morning with adventure in the air. Suddenly, they spied an animal they knew was best left alone. For the wolverine is not ordinarily given to pranks and gregarious companionship. To him, the daily search for food is a serious pursuit, and he practices it with a certain relentless determination. As the pleasant morning wore on, the wanderers sometimes paused long enough to enjoy a warm, sandy riverbank. Here was the chance to dry themselves and clean their fur. Eventually, they reached the winding Snake River, and without a moment's hesitation, launched themselves in its swift currents. Now they became voyagers. Travel was effortless. All they need do was ride with the river. In no time, it would carry them for miles. On this day of fateful happenings, an event was about to occur that would seriously threaten the young otters. High above their playground, a rock balanced precariously on the crags. Over eons of time, the unrelenting forces of heat and cold had pried it loose. This was the moment it broke away. Suddenly, one otter appeared. Only one. But one at least had survived. Farther along the bank, he continued the hunt, half hoping his companions might turn up. He called to them, giving the short, sharp cry of distress. But there was no reply, no echoing sound. Instinctively now, he knew what he must do. He must return home. He must find his mother. The home den, when he got there, was empty. Mother was off somewhere on business of her own, no telling where. The warm scent of his fellows still lingered, but already it was growing fainter. And it only served to emphasize the overwhelming sense of emptiness within him. He made a valiant effort to amuse himself. Oh, but it was no go. He needed not a lifeless plaything, but vital, responsive playmates. The danger now was not starvation, it was loneliness. In an animal as sensitively attuned as the otter, loneliness can destroy even the will to live. And so this forlorn little orphan went forth seeking company. Company of most any kind. Was not too promising. If there was an out-and-out loner in these woods, here he was, the porcupine, slow-moving, slow-thinking, and slow to encourage acquaintance. A prickly personality if there ever was one. It seemed that a lonely otter needing friends would have to find them elsewhere. Continuing his odyssey, the otter moved on. The hours passed. He found himself cruising lakes that were new and strange to him. Ordinarily, he was much at home in the water, but today, this was not home in the way he most needed. At last, he spied other creatures, some stately trumpeter swans. Eagerly, the otter came closer, his overtures well meant and completely friendly. But his forwardness was not so interpreted. It happened that the swans were in their molting period, and until their wing feathers grew back, they could not take to the air. Thus, they were extremely skittish and mistrustful of all strangers. The morning was well along by now, and still no sign of his mother, no evidence of friend or foe. It was as though all others of his kind had vanished, leaving no footprint on these shores. Almost certainly there was life around him, if he could only find it. There was beauty, too. Beauty to catch and hold the eye. The more he watched these antics, the more they intrigued him. For the pageantry of the water birds was colorful and somewhat unpredictable. Along about midday, the young otter left the lake country and moved up a tributary stream called Cottonwood Creek. Now he was in beaver territory. And before he had gone far, he met a curious barrier of sticks and logs standing squarely across the current. He had never seen its like before, but then he was young and inexperienced. For anyone really traveled in these parts, it would have been recognized instantly for what it was, a beaver dam. Above the barricade, the otter stopped in sudden surprise. Here was a possible friend, someone rather like himself. The beaver's reaction was decidedly cool and aloof. For some reason, beavers don't care for otters. Perhaps they can't stand so much nervous energy. He expressed his displeasure in the emphatic manner of all beavers. Instinctively, he went off to hide, using the secret entrance that led inside his snug house. This fellow was a bachelor, somewhat the exception among his kind. Yet he didn't live alone. He had a family, of a sort. These were muskrats, squatters here with the beavers' full permission. Many animals in nature whose tolerance is as great. However, the beaver is the complete vegetarian, and so was no threat to his timid little tenants.